Hello and welcome back. As you can see this week we've got Hornby Railway's late 70s King Edward I with some lovely looking chocolate and cream coaches from the late 70s also, and they look terrific as a set running around the railway. So we'll just follow this lot back to the station nice and smoothly through the diamond crossing there, and you can see the new ends to my sidings. I completely reworked them, having played with them for a bit. You can see some still photographs of what went on there just after we get this great looking train back into the station. Lovely shot there, the Pullman sitting on the right under the canopy, Pullman coaches in the distance, G.W.R pannier there, and a nice gentle stop. There we go. You can see I got all the point motors installed for the sidings as you saw them in the previous couple of videos, but in the end I needed a bit extra space and simplify them a little bit so they were easier to use, and remembering point numbers and switches and isolating sections and stuff. So I think what I've ended up with is simpler and provides a bit more space for some extra fun. A little bit of testing and stuff went on. Little extra wire in there. That's how they looked when I'd finished getting the motors in. And there's the new switches for the isolating sections in the station, and wiring's growing underneath. But it all has a specific job. We'll have a swift look over the locomotive. She's in a fairly tatty box, late 70s. This model coming along in 1978, if you have a look at the catalogue page there. You can see we have the information on the end of the box. We've got R.078, G.W.R 460 King Edward I. That's that great sticky label there with the screw effect printed onto it. I think that's quite nice. So the flaps on this box are all quite weak, so I've already opened that. We'll just slide it out so it's the polystyrene packaging. I'll just ease that out of there. Lovely image on the face card. Very, very nice sort of style of packaging. I think that's well, not the polystyrene, but having the face card with the image like that, the illustration, and they carried through into the catalogues. I think that's quite smart. And again, there's more information about the locomotive there. So we'll just pop that down for a second. So we do have instructions. Let's have a quick glance at these. Sorry, they're well thumbed through by the looks of it. Whoops, awful sound there. And then we've got the catalogue stamp, not the catalogue stamp, the model stamp there, so R.078. We've got the 15th of the 9th, 78, so fairly early on in the production, I imagine. So this model was produced or available in the form we're seeing it today between 1978 and 80, and at which point I think the model was reworked slightly, improved some of the faults it was perceived to have at the time. Great black and white image there. You've got the locomotive at the bottom of the page there. We've got oiling instructions, so we've seen these fairly general sheets before, and they cover a group of models, so there's plenty of information to be had there. We'll just pop that down to the one side there, and have a swift look over the model in the box, and it's got the polystyrene tray. There we can see that quite poorly applied transfer there. It really sticks out against that sort of matte finish of the plastic there, doesn't it? It's very, very crude. But overall, I think it's quite an impressive looking model. It as a toy train, I think it does the job. It's a fairly got a lot of presence, I think is the word I'm saying, when the word I'm looking for, when she's sitting on the rails with the coaches. So I've just removed the model from the polystyrene tray, and you can see plenty of oil and so on marking in there. When the model came to me, it was quite the mechanism was quite seized up. It sort of barely ran. There's a lot of congealed lubricant on the model, in the motor and the gearing and so on. So I think it's been fairly well used in the past, but looked over. So we'll just pop that away to one side and have a very quick look over the model. The chassis here and the locomotive body, sorry, and the wheels on the chassis, they run very smoothly now. So it does look to be in pretty nice condition. As I say, it's been well used and well lubricated in the past. I think this is quite a nice arrangement with this working of the front bogie there, so quite a nice solution to try and get the detailing in there, I think. I always find that these plastic parts are a bit of a letdown. I always thought it was a shame. It really must be a cost-cutting exercise to turn those out in plastic rather than have found a way of manufacturing those in metal, I suppose. You've got cab glazing, nice wire handrail there, and this drawbar has been slightly reworked. It sort of floats. It's quite nice. It seems to be a little more reliable than the earlier ones. I'll have a swift look around the other side. So the lining's fairly intact. It's a little worn on the tender when we have a look at that along the foot plate area, and where it meets the top of the tender meets the chassis. We'll look at that in a second. Again, that little clasp there that holds the handrail, that tends to pop up. When I got it, it was popped up like that. I don't know whether it's bent or slightly damaged in the box over time, but quite impressive looking thing. I think a good effort at the time, although perhaps not living up to expectations from what I've read. It attracts quite a bit of criticism, this model. So we'll just pop this down. I know it's the time when Hornby were trying to improve their status in the model industry rather than the toy trains. So there's that tender, and I don't think that transfer did them any favours. So I think the tender top on this has been on and off quite a number of times by the looks of it. There's quite a bit of wear where somebody's had the screwdriver in under here. It sustained a little bit of damage on one of the clips, or the recesses where the clips go in the tender top is chipped on the inside, but we'll have a quick look at that in a moment. So there we go, the wheels have all cleaned up nicely. There's quite a bit of wear on the sides of them. I'm not sure whether the centres have been repainted or they were just badly painted to start with. But as I say, she runs pretty good now. So let's just pop that down and we'll have a look at the inside of it. I've just removed the top of the tender and have a quick look at that very shiny transfer again. I'll have a look around on the inside there. You can see the clips, so the recesses where the clips on the chassis would go. You can see one of them is just broken away there, and there's the slight damage I was talking about there. You see somebody's had a screwdriver in there many times. So I think somebody's been inside this and oiled it on a fairly regular basis over its life. And I say it was all fairly congealed and in poor running condition when I got it. And there's the clips on the other side. You can see how they should be. So it's very light. So we'll pop that down. We do have a code number just in there. I don't know whether you can read that. I can't see what it says from here. What have we got? We've got R.0790010. So that must be the code for the tender, R.078 being the model itself. So just pop that down, have a swift look over the motor. So we've seen a number of these style of motors running quite recently. And it still has the metal bearing. I think later then that metal bearing was dropped, which I think was probably a mistake. I think the orange lining along the bottom of the top of the chassis here is pretty good on this side. But when we swap to the other side, you can see it's fairly worn there, perhaps through repeated handling and opening of the tender. Nice heavy weights, so it gives it good traction, but all of this was very congealed. So it's obviously been left for some time. So it cleaned up, and it really does run quite nicely. We've got a pair of traction tyres, and we've got those floating centre wheels on the tender there, which ease its way around the tracks, I think. But not too bad. And there's that pin where it connects into that drawbar on the main part of the locomotive. just 3 of my coaches have boxes. I've got a composite and a couple of brakes. They're fairly tatty looking boxes, so we'll just pop those to one side. So the composite and the brake came along in 77, and the restaurant car came along in 78. I think in later years the model numbers perhaps changed. I think they retained these model numbers till 79, and in 80 they got a paint finish. I believe possibly the bogies may have changed on them sometimes in the 80s too, but that's in the future. I don't have any examples of those. So the composite here, and they are quite pretty things. Introduced as part of the regional range of coaches. I think they did Hornby a lot of good, because the previous the Triang Hornby style of coaches had been around for a long time, and they were way more compromised than these, I imagine, in design. But these share a number of parts with the other regional variations in the range in the late 70s. And as I say, these have got lovely silver seal wheels. They do make a terrific sound on the rails. So let's just have one last look down the other side of the composite there. You can see this is the corridor side with the line printed on the glass there, the handrail. So I think that's quite a neat trick developed early on by them. And here we go, we've got the brake. Again, got quite a bit of printing along the sides, a little bit of wear through the paintwork. Again, they do share common parts. So the roofs, some of these are dirtier than others. I think the restaurant, which we're about to look at, is probably the dirtiest. That's an unboxed one I have. So again, the lovely smooth running silver seal wheels. Fair bit of detail on the underframe here. Again, this underframe was shared, or chassis was shared by most of the coaches in this range, I think. And here we've got the restaurant coach. You see, this is a bit dirtier. It really is quite ingrained, that. So it's done a fair bit of running in its life, this one, I imagine. Again, there's those shared ends again. But quite nice detail on the when you look through the insides there. You've got tables and so on. And the obscured window in the kitchen department there, perhaps. So I think they made quite a number of these over the years. So I've just fiddled with the points, so we should be set to climb over the elevated section, cross the bridge, and all the way back down again through this set of points. So let's give her a little power and see how we do. So here we go. A little bit energetic to start with. And let's just bring her to a stop just beyond the bridge there. I'll have a quick look over her one more time. So I think she's quite a great looking toy train personally. It's a big looking locomotive, perhaps not as accurate as many people expected it to be. But probably the biggest letdown is that shiny transfer on the tender. Doesn't really do a lot. I don't know whether I mentioned this little peg here which holds the handrail in there. That tends to keep popping out. So I think there's quite a bit of tension there in that handrail. So let's see if we can give her a suitable amount of power and get her back down onto level ground. Let's see if we can stand back a little bit. And I think we'll bring her gently to a stop just before we get back to the bridge. Here we go. So it definitely picks up a bit of pace with all those coaches behind her. Silver seal wheels making a lovely sound on the rails. Let's just reset the points before we have any unintended accidents. So I think what we'll do now is we'll run her into the new sidings. So to do that I need to change a few points. So if you have a look in the distance over here, so we're going to do 8R. Actually I think that one was already in the correct direction. Let's have a look. Yes, no, I've just thrown it back again because I was fiddling with that beforehand and I thought I'd set it and remember, but I forgot. So that should take the train into here through 1W, 2W and onto not the far line but the one just next to it, and we'll get her right in there and then we'll separate the train and back around her. So good plan, let's see if it works. So again, let's give it a little more power. And take it right up to the points. There, I think the tail end's in, so there's only just enough room to switch these here. So we'll get the triangle decoupler. So I've lost it there. Trying to do this looking through the camera is quite disorientating. I'm going to have to look for real. There we go. There's still a little tension. I think there's a plastic coupling hook there. I think this is just holding onto it a little bit more. Sorry, I'm trying to look where I'm pointing with this and not through the camera. So we'll just run the locomotive forward now, I think. So let's just go beyond the points. Excuse me while I reach backwards. Change the direction on the controller. Hold this up so you can see a little more. Forgotten the other point. Now she'll run. So otherwise we wouldn't get out the other end. There we go. And then we'll just stop that there. And then we'll open 7R and we'll run through those. And we'll close those. So let's back up. Gonna have to swap hands again, so we want number 1. And then we change direction again. Let's see if we can get her on the turntable. Again, she's got that almost full-size flange drive wheel, so she tends to rock, causing a loss of connection to the track. So we have got the power going through there, but when you lose pickup from one side of the tender and the locomotive, we lose all power. Very poorly explained, that. think we just need to back that up, that front bogie just hanging very, very close. There. So I think if we leave it in that direction, when we get turned around, she should drive off. He says hopefully, so let's rotate that. So this hut really vibrates on there. I think a bit of glue tack on that could help. The tiny little clip on it is missing, sadly. And there we have it. So I'm not quite sure whether that alignment's good. I'm just going to run back through it and try it again. I think that's more promising. So that looks like a better alignment. So let's see if the theory about which direction she's going to run. Again, I apologise, I'm putting the camera in the wrong direction. Slight hesitation there if she jumps off the turntable. And then let's throw a few points. So we need number 1. And we'll go back and get the coaches and have a run around the layout in the opposite direction. I think the rest, apart from 2W, I think we should roll all the way back to the coaches now. If we go the right direction. Looking pretty good so far. Let's slow it down a little. Let's just check we have those. It looks pretty convincing from here. So I do need to change the direction because I haven't done that. And let's just draw back out onto the main line. So I think we just close up those points behind. So that's number 8. There we have it. So I suppose we could go over the incline in the opposite direction. Seems silly not to. So we need 3G and 1G at the far end, where we've got the Nella Hall sitting down there in the sidings at the station. So let's give that a little go. Let's just stop that there. I'm probably giving that a little bit more power than she really needs. But I'm just trying to get a little momentum for the climb there. So let's continue. And we'll stop her on the slope on the other side and see how she does backing up a little. So this is just fun, playing with the trains. So let's see how she does. Let's back her up. So we've got the whole lot on the on the slope now. Let's see if we can widen the camera a little. So that's pretty good from a standing start on the slope, isn't it? So let's go back around and see if we can get her to climb a little slower. Terrific sound, those Silver Seal wheels. I really think that's quite impressive. So we'll slow her right down there. One, so we don't crash off on the points, and two, let's see how she climbs more slowly, because I was a bit over enthusiastic last time. My only concern is it's on half wave, and she does tend to run out of power a little bit too soon. And we've got all that friction coming around these curves. Looks pretty good, doesn't it? She's not really struggling with that. I suppose there's a tiniest bit of wheel slip there, but not too bad. It's quite convincing. Now I think we better back her off a little bit, otherwise she's going to tear away. My gimbal's just gone completely haywire. So I'm going to slow that right down. And I think probably we're going to call that a day there. And I have just reset the gimbal, and it's now pointing the direction I want it. So let's just continue with and just pull this off just as an ending here. Sorry to jump back in like this. So we were just about to do that. Now I think if we close 1G, 3G and 1B, then she won't crash into anything. And that really is it. Sorry, that really is it this time. Thanks again. Sorry about the problem with the gimbal. And if you look back again next time, we'll have something else interesting to look at. Goodbye now.